Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Thomas Bark. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be comparing oVPN with Mullvad VPN. Now, why am I comparing these two providers specifically? Well, they're similar VPNs in some ways, and they're both based out of Sweden. So let's go ahead and find out which one of these VPNs is better for you to use in 2021 and ongoing. Hey guys, if you haven't already checked out vpntierlist.com, I really encourage you to do so. It's my custom designed website that is pretty much a resource for you guys to use. You can check out the tier list, the transparency report that updates changes on the rankings, as well as other stuff you'll find on the easy to navigate website. Anyways, back to the video. Additionally, if you want to purchase either of these VPNs, the links will be down in the description and the comments down below, which will help support the channel. So guys, basically what we're going to be doing is comparing each category of the review process system with each other. So how much is Mullvad? Well, Mullvad is interesting because it's around $5.50 a month. They don't let you pay for a yearly commitment per se to get discount pricing. So you can fully buy a year Mullvad VPN, but it's going to be around $66 or whatever the price of $550 times 6 would be, roughly $33 for half a year. So it's actually a pretty good pricing system. I like how Mullvad has the account system set up. You just kind of generate a code. It's probably one of the more anonymous startup systems with VPNs to get started. It's pretty good price, $550. I'm not gonna lie, it's a good price. Now, when we're talking about the yearly plan though, around $66, that's a little bit pricey. So I would and always have liked Mullvad to add better commitment pricing up to a year. I think that is fair and transparent for the consumer. Anything longer than that, up to 3 years, is way too much, I think, to subscribe to one company at a time. So I do think that Mullvad has room for improvement there. Are they ever going to do that? I really don't think so. They're pretty stuck on this pricing system. It does allow them to get more margin when people subscribe month per month rather than getting flat discounts for longer terms. That's probably one reason I don't think they're doing that either. Because if someone stays subscribed to Mullvad for a year, it's actually going to be giving them a decent amount of money. Whereas with other VPNs, they're going to have that discount pricing. So that's just something to consider. Additionally, Mullvad only has 5 simultaneous device use, which is a bit low for VPNs nowadays. So that's also something to keep in mind. Now let's take a look at oVPN's pricing policy. oVPN is definitely more expensive per month. It's around double the cost. Actually, is exactly double the cost. So it's not as friendly month per month as Mullvad VPN, by no means of a stretch of the imagination. Additionally, the 6-month is also more expensive. Although they do provide multi-hop here as kind of like a way to make it seem not as expensive. But I think with Mullvad, of course, everything is included. But we can take a look at the yearly plan, and this is what I was talking about. So let's say if you decide to go the yearly plan or buy up to a year of Mullvad, it's actually going to be more cheap to go with oVPN. It's going to be around $6 cheaper. So oVPN does catch up on that 12-month model. However, the other pricing plans definitely are more expensive overall. Not only that, but oVPN only allows 4 simultaneous device use compared to Mullvad, which has 5. So in terms of pricing, I do think that Mullvad has a slight advantage, especially in terms of month to month. I think it's cheaper there for sure. oVPN does catch up at the yearly plan, and it's only a little bit more expensive for the 6-month plan, but it does have less simultaneous device use. So who wins in terms of pricing? Well, I'm gonna have to say Mullvad. So guys, which out of the two, both Mullvad and oVPN, have the better application? Here's what Mullvad looks like. The basic kind of stuff is you can go into the preferences, configure a little bit of basic settings. See, we got some port settings, some WireGuard stuff, some bridge mode, which is kind of like obfuscation. I'm going to show you oVPN right now. oVPN has a decent app as well. It's got a little bit more information on statistics. It's got a little bit more settings in terms of just like a little bit of customization in weird areas, like connecting with this kind of weird TCP port. And it does have the option to enable streaming services, which is really nice. But overall, in a head-to-head comparison, I do think that Mullvad gets a slight lead here. In fact, after doing these head-to-head, I did reconfigure that oVPN score is actually a little bit lower than Mullvad's, just because Mullvad does a little bit better here. Both of these VPNs are pretty good, in fact, that they don't have any Android trackers. Mullvad has 0 website and 0 Android trackers, while oVPN does a good job of just having basic analytic kind of stuff and 0 Android app trackers as well. Mullvad also has a SOC site proxy, which is nice, but oVPN does give you a little bit more information about server performance and latency presentation. Mullvad, I think, does have a slight edge for having more servers and WireGuard support, but like I said, which I'm going to touch on later on, actually, I haven't said that yet as the video in the order that I'm making it. OVPN has not implemented WireGuard support yet, but they do plan on doing that very soon, as well as OpenVPN 2.5. Neither of these VPNs support some of these cool features that I like to see: ad blocking, split tunneling. Neither one of these VPNs support integrated proxy support like we see with some other providers. Although, just to be clear, Mullvad does provide a BitTorrent proxy to use on your torrent application. So overall, I do think that Mullvad has a slight edge. Neither of these apps are close to perfect. They still have a long ways to go in terms of just adding pure features. I don't think Mullvad's gonna get that much closer because they're always kind of have been like the basic VPN app, secure and good to use and fast for the most part and not that buggy, but just pretty basic. I don't think they're going to add a lot of these features because they probably don't see them as necessary. OVPN seems similar in that respect. I do see them adding stuff like WireGuard and stuff like that. It would be cool to actually see both add IKV2 as well. Although OVPN does have support for streaming, but it's not exactly the same thing as dedicated IPs. All right, guys, so now we're going to be doing the speed test with OVPN and Mullvad, seeing which one is faster. Now, OVPN does have limited servers, which is definitely a bummer. They're a smaller VPN provider, but we're going to see how much bang we could get out of this buck. We're going to be running it through a variety of different speed tests and as well as a torrent download. Now, a lot of people on my channel sometimes complain about speeds with fast VPN providers, and that's because they're just using the wrong speed test or they're not fully testing it. So that's not here what we do on the channel. Firstly, we're going to do it with fast.com. This is a good indication of how fast the service will work with streaming providers. Usually here, I do want to see pretty good speeds so you could get good service with Netflix and stuff like that. This is a good indication of what it will look like when streaming video. So unfortunately for OVPN, this isn't too impressive. Some other VPN providers go way, way, way beyond this. But we'll have to compare Mullvad and see, how they shape up. Looking a little bit better now, a little bit of an error there. I actually think I don't know what was going on. But this is actually looking quite good, actually. I was going to say, if we're getting like 1 megabyte a second or megabit per second with OVPN, that's going to be disappointing. Overall, though, this is perfectly suitable, will work for streaming just fine, and honestly, not a bad speed test at all. Even some of the faster VPNs, I get around 400 plus, so this isn't bad at all. So now we're going to go ahead and do Librespeed. This is another speed test alternative that I like a little bit more than speedtest.net because, as you can see here, no Flash, no Java, no website, no bullshit, and it's not going to be stealing your data like speedtest.net is, logging your data, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be using a Los Angeles server and seeing what kind of results we can get here. And of course, after this, we're going to be doing that speed test with a torrent download as well. So we're getting pretty good speeds here, actually quite good. 31 ping is really nice. Perfectly suitable for gaming or anything you want to be doing. 183 megabits per second and a pretty good upload as well. Now keep in mind, every VPN is going to affect your speeds quite significantly because it's encrypting your internet traffic, making anyone from the outside not able to see what your traffic is, like your ISP and whatnot. So I am getting around a gig per second purchased and usually around 900 to 1000 megabits per second here. So it's definitely a little bit of speed decrease, but even with this website specifically, I don't always get that much speed. For some reason, that's just how Librespeed works. Maybe it's more accurate, I don't know. Usually without VPN, I get around 400 to 500 on this website. So that's pretty good. And that's what we get here as well. All right, so we are now torrenting with OVPN. We're gonna wait for a second just to have it start up. Now, ideally, I do like to get around 30 to 40 for VPN providers that have OpenVPN. Sometimes I like to get 40 to 50 plus with WireGuard VPNs. So honestly, right now from OVPN, this is actually quite good. The last couple times I've tested OVPN, it did not get this high. So I'm actually really impressed with OVPN right now. 33 was the high point right there. These are actually really, really good speeds. 37. I would say that these are probably some of the best speeds I've been getting actually with OVPN that I've been getting with OpenVPN supported VPNs. This is extremely solid and very impressive. We're gonna have to see if Mullvad can stack up to this 34 right there, and we're gonna be comparing it just in the graph as well in the next area. So we'll be able to see quite easily. We're gonna go ahead and pause that and switch over to Mullvad. So now we're going to be testing Mullvad. Now, just to be fair here, guys, I am going to be using a closer server to my location, as well as a faster protocol named WireGuard that is supported as of right now in Mullvad. In fact, Mullvad was one of the first VPNs to support WireGuard, which has always been really nice. You're going to supposedly get better performance on multiple devices, faster connection times, stuff like that. OVPN is actually going to push that out very soon, I think by the end of the year, as well as implementing OpenVPN 2.5, which is actually supposed to be pretty competitive and almost just as fast as WireGuard. So if Mullvad does win this speed test, I might have to do a speed test later on in 2021 to see how they compare again. But let's see how Mullvad can compare as of right now to what OVPN offers in the competition. So let's go ahead and start up this since we already have it going. We're going to be looking for Mullvad to exceed this graph. And as of right now, it looks like it is doing so without a problem at all. In fact, these are exceedingly quick speeds, some of the fastest speeds I've seen from VPN providers, which doesn't surprise me because in the last couple of years, it seems like Mullvad VPN has really improved their server network quite well. So that's about as good as speeds you can get from a VPN. And while OVPN had a really good showing right now, it did get smoked by Mullvad VPN quite handedly. Let's go ahead and stop that and do a speed test right here. Let's see how Mullvad can perform with streaming. And as expected, it's going to beat it here as well. This is quite a good showing for Mullvad VPN. Really nice job, Mullvad VPN team. I think it's a contribution of WireGuard and having closer servers. So like I said before, the test is a little bit skewed because one is using WireGuard, one is not using WireGuard. But in fairness of the test, I have to use what each VPN has been able to bring to the table at the time of this comparison. Now, finally, let's go ahead and do this comparison right here. We got 183 megabits per second, and we're going to do the test right here. And wow, that is really, really good. And Mullvad VPN smoked OVPN. That's really impressive. Overall, though, both VPNs did pretty well. Mullvad exceedingly well. OVPN better than average. Overall, actually a pretty fun speed test, and good job to both these VPN providers. Now, if we're talking about support, I think that OVPN has a very, very slight advantage. They're a little bit of a smaller VPN provider, and in my experience, the CEO and just the team itself seems to be a little bit more responsive to tickets than Mullvad. However, Mullvad has a pretty good response time as well. One big advantage, in my opinion, is that OVPN does support live chat, which has never really been a thing for Mullvad. However, kind of the caveat is that they seem to be kind of based more on EU times or maybe Sweden times. They're not really ever available during Pacific Saving Time or kind of what normal waking hours would be for me. So I can't give them like full points for not having 24/7 live chat, but I do think this gives them an edge over Mullvad, which has never really supported live chat for anyone anywhere on any time zone. So yeah, if we're talking about reputation between Mullvad and OVPN, I would say that both are very good. Now, the difference between OVPN and Mullvad is that OVPN was one of the first VPNs that was accepted and asked to join the RVP program, which means they provided me a full list of company ownership, and they agreed to adhere to all the RVP kind of rules and regulations, and that they're never going to be paying for reviews, they're not going to do any black hat marketing, they're going to stand up for privacy and stuff like that. If you want more information about the RVP program, go ahead and check it out on the tier list. Mullvad, actually, I did ask them to join because I thought they could qualify. Both of these VPNs have 0 trackers on Android, which is another thing, and both are a no-log VPN. Mullvad didn't really want to join, so I do think, you know, they are pretty reputable, but the fact that they didn't want to join, I can't give them the same score as something like OVPN, which does seem to be a major proponent for my channel. And what I'm doing here to give people honest recommendations and honest reviews, whereas Mullvad doesn't really seem to want to support that. For whatever reason, they seem to think that they didn't like how my website had affiliations within the RVP program. And I told them specifically, you do not have to be affiliated with me to be part of the RVP program. You could either be affiliated or not affiliated. I'll still put you in if you want to join and be accepted. However, Mullvad didn't really want to respond to my emails after that, so there we go. That's why the score is lower for the reputation. Now you guys might be thinking, well, Tom, why does it really matter if a VPN's in the RVP or not for me as maybe a viewer or even just as a basic VPN user? Well, joining the RVP program does provide benefits to the privacy community as a whole. Take, for example, this really cool interview I did with David from OVPN. In this interview, I learned a lot about his kind of personal take on the VPN industry. He provided you guys some valuable insights about jurisdiction, no logging policies with VPNs, some future kind of ideas about the industry itself, and I think all these ideas can really help build and grow the transparency, honesty, and just kind of knowledge within the VPN community. And since Mullvad is never going to be a part of the RVP program according to them, they can't ever help and do cool things like this with me that kind of help the community be more informed. Lastly, what we do want to talk about is streaming compatibility. Which is better, Mullvad or oVPN for streaming compatibility? Which one works with Netflix, Prime Video, Hulu, BBC iPlayer? Well, Mullvad unfortunately has never really cared anything about streaming compatibility. They look at themselves more of like a privacy product, not necessarily a geo unblocking product, which VPNs are kind of, some VPNs do a little bit of both. I would say that oVPN is the better VPN to pick if you're looking for better streaming compatibility. You don't have to pay anything extra, and a lot of the IPs just naturally work, whereas with Mullvad, they don't seem to do so. oVPN seems to put a little bit more importance on this factor, so they're going to be working with Netflix, Hulu, and Prime Video, although I couldn't get oVPN working with BBC iPlayer. Controversially, Mullvad doesn't work with any really, since most of the IPs are blocked and using shared IPs, whereas oVPN just seems to work better. So if you're looking for a streaming VPN, definitely oVPN wins this category hands down. So overall, guys, who here is the winner? Let's break it down category by category. In terms of pricing, I think Mullvad is a clear winner. It's cheaper per month, and while it is more expensive per year, oVPN is around $6 cheaper per year. I do think having a monthly cost of $5 is pretty good. oVPN does offer a 10% off coupon code with Tom Spark, however, so if you factor that into the discount, oVPN is more competitive, but I do think it's not as cheap as around $5.50 per month. oVPN could slash prices a little bit, I think, and get closer to be in competition with Mullvad. In terms of application, I think Mullvad also has a slight edge here, with stuff like WireGuard support already being implemented, and a little bit of other settings being more fully featured than oVPN. However, oVPN should add some of these things in the future to be more competitive once again. In terms of speed, both VPNs perform very well. oVPN is faster than average, and Mullvad is pretty much as fast as you can get, competing with the likes of some of the fastest VPNs out there. Stuff like Torguard, VPN, etc. are some of the fastest VPNs, and Mullvad really does smoke a lot of the competition. And in fact, I've rated it 5 out of 5 for speeds, whereas oVPN gets around 4 out of 5 as of right now. Now, if we're talking about reputation, I do think oVPN has a slight advantage here, although like I said before, it kind of depends on how much you value the RVP program. I know some people don't value it all. They say, oh, you know, you shouldn't lower Mullvad's score because they didn't join your program. However, the program itself, I implemented it so you guys can find VPNs that are easy to trust. It's really up to Mullvad if they want to join the program or not. They are still open to joining it. They still can join it if they want to. I would love to have them in the program, but they don't seem to want to support the program and honest creators like me doing honest VPN reviews. So oVPN gets the edge here because they're trying to make a difference in the review space, but also having a reputable VPN as well that's fully transparent. So slight props there to oVPN. In terms of support, I do think oVPN is a smaller company, but a little bit more responsive in terms of tickets. Both are pretty close here, however, just a little slight edge to oVPN. In streaming, I think oVPN is a clear winner here, with Mullvad having zero support or zero attention at all to streaming, and oVPN making a decent effort at it, only not being able to unblock the UK streaming services like BBC iPlayer. Now overall, you might think that this video would end up in a tie, and I could see why you'd think that, because both VPNs won 3 categories out of the 6 available. However, the tier list itself works by a point-by-point system in each category, and overall, oVPN was closer to Mullvad in the categories that it lost, than Mullvad was closer to the categories that lost to oVPN. By that I mean that Mullvad did horrible in the streaming compatibility section, whereas in all the other sections, oVPN did pretty well and was pretty competitive to Mullvad for the most part. That's why oVPN gets a higher aggregate score and is thus the winner of this head-to-head comparison. Not only that, but I think oVPN has the room to make more improvements than Mullvad does. Mullvad already has WireGuard and some of these other things, so the speed's not going to increase too much more, whereas oVPN still has a lot of room for improvement to be even more competitive with something like Mullvad. They could also improve their application, maybe even lower the price, and even improve streaming compatibility. But I don't think Mullvad's really going to do that. They don't really show any interest in stream compatibility. Their price is pretty constant. and they already got perfect speed as much, and they don't really want to join the RVP program either. So as far as I'm concerned, Mullvad's score is going to be pretty static, and oVPN shows a lot of future for improvements, but it also does very well across the board, while Mullvad has some clear weaknesses, like I said, streaming compatibility. Anyway, guys, I hope you found that to be an unbiased comparison between these two VPN providers, both based out of Sweden. Very similar services in some ways, very different in others. If you want to help support the channel, go ahead and click on the links down in the description down below. Purchase Mullvad or oVPN. It really is up to you. oVPN is an affiliate of mine. Mullvad is not. However, that did not influence the review scores here. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next review very soon.